So today, we're going to talk about a role that so many of us know, either because we live it or because we love someone who does. We're talking about being the strong one. You know, that person who's always there, the one who just seems to hold everything together for everyone. Just think about it for a minute. When a crisis hits, whose phone rings first? When a friend is falling apart at 2 a.m, who are they calling? If that sounds familiar, if you are the designated rock for your entire circle, then yeah, this one is definitely for you. And look, there's a certain pride in that, right? Being so capable, so dependable. But there's a flip side, a cost that almost no one ever talks about, a weight that's usually carried in complete silence. Okay, so first up, let's really dig in and define this strong one identity. What does it actually look and feel like to be the constant emotional stabilizer for everyone in your life? And I bet these traits feel super familiar. The strong one is just always available. Their door, their phone, it's always open. They're the one you call to manage a crisis because, well, they just seem to know what to do. They hold on to everyone else's secrets, but notice the other side of that. They almost never ask for help themselves. Their own stuff, that's usually kept under lock and key. The bottom line is their entire operating system is built around putting everybody else first. But how does someone even get here? I mean, let's be honest, nobody really signs up for this job. More often than not, it's a role you were kind of trained for, and that training usually started when you were way too young. Well, there's actually a psychological term for this backstory, the parentified child. This is a kid who, for whatever reason, maybe a parent's illness or just general chaos at home, has to step into adult shoes way, way too early. They end up becoming the caregiver for the very people who were supposed to be taking care of them. And that early conditioning, it basically sets the blueprint for a lifetime of being the reliable one. And this responsibility, it doesn't just happen overnight. It kind of escalates in stages. You know, first, maybe the child becomes the confidant, listening to grown-up problems they have no business hearing. Then they might become the mediator, always trying to keep the peace between family members. And finally, they graduate to the top job, the emotional stabilizer, feeling responsible for the mood of the entire household. Each of these roles just hardwires a pattern that they carry right into their adult relationship. And you know what? That intense training you got as a kid, it doesn't just disappear when you become an adult. Nope. It becomes this deeply ingrained part of you. And that's where we start to see the huge emotional cost of being so capable all the time. It's what we can call the hidden tax of reliability. And that's a perfect metaphor, really. A hidden tax. It's not something you consciously pay. It's just this constant, quiet drain on your energy, your time, and your emotional reserves that pretty much goes completely unnoticed by the people who are benefiting from it. And that tax, at its absolute core, is this. It's the quiet loneliness of being valued for what you provide, rather than for who you are. And that feeling, that leads to this really deep internal conflict. It's like this constant tug of war going on inside between the role you play and the actual person you are underneath it all. Let's break that down a bit. So on one side, you've got your function, what you do. You provide stability, you solve problems, you manage crises. This is what everyone sees and relies on. But then over on the other side, that's your personhood. The part of you that has needs, the part that feels vulnerable, the part that is so much more than just a role. For the strong one, that second column, it often feels completely invisible to everyone else. And what happens when you live in that gap? You end up with this profound sense of isolation. It's a crazy paradox, right? You can be the most needed person in a room and still feel completely and utterly alone because it feels like nobody is seeing the real you behind the mask of competence. So let's sit with that for a second. The quiet loneliness. If any of this is hitting home for you, I just want you to know that what you're feeling is real. It is absolutely valid. Here's what I really want you to take away from all this. Your ability to be that rock for people, that is a true gift. It really is. But, and this is so important, it is not the sum total of who you are. Your identity is not your function. So I want to leave you with one final question to think about. Just imagine, really imagine for a second, what if you could put that heavy burden down? If you weren't so busy being the strong one for everybody else, who would you finally have the time, the energy, and the space to become?